Hello, so today's video I'm going to do a video on expanding double brackets. In order to do that, you need to be comfortable with a few things. Here, the three areas that I've kind of picked out that are quite important to be able to answer these questions. Multiplying algebraic terms, simplifying expressions, operations with negative numbers, particularly adding, subtracting, and multiplying. If you are not confident even with those three areas, the first thing you need to do is go away and practice those. Okay, so I have a number of examples that we're going to look at. The first one is t plus 5, t plus 6. Now, there's two brackets here, and in between those two brackets, there is an invisible times. What a lot of people do is just they multiply the t times the t to get t squared, and then the 5 times the 6 to get 30. That's not quite right. We are multiplying everything in the first bracket by everything in the second bracket. I'm going to show you two methods for doing these sorts of questions. The first method is called the grid method. And then the second method, which we'll do over here, is called the FOIL method. So I'll show you two methods and then you can decide which one you prefer. So the grid method, all I'm going to do is set up a 2 by 2 grid in this case, because there are two things in the first bracket and then there are two things in the second bracket. I'm actually going to highlight that green. So it doesn't matter where you put, whether you put the, I'll show you that in a second. So the first bracket, t, and I want you to include the sign that comes before the 5, and think of that as a positive 5. We're going to put that along the top, and then along the bottom, down the side, I'm going to write t, and then positive 6. What I was trying to say a second ago is that it doesn't matter if you were to put t plus 6 along the top and t plus 5 down the side. It doesn't matter which way around they go. And then all I'm going to do is in these each boxes, just like the grid method with numbers, I'm going to multiply the two terms. So t in this box here, I'm doing t multiplied by t, which gives you t squared. In this box, I'm doing t, not plus 5. A common mistake people might write in here is t add 5. Remember, that's a positive number. So we're doing t times positive 5, gives you plus 5t. Then in this one down here, we're doing positive 6 times 6t, which gives you 6t. And then positive 5 times positive 6 gives you positive 30. We have expanded that. We've done the first bit of the question, expanded. Now we need to simplify. So I'm just going to write out this t squared, cross it out as I do it as well, this 5t, this plus 6t, and then this plus 30. Okay, now you come to simplify, so we're going to group together all the squared terms, all just the t terms, and all of the numbers. So to do that, I've only got a t squared here, and then in a different shape, different colour, I'm going to put a box around everything with a t in it and include the sign that comes before it. So that's going to be plus, if I've got positive 5 and I add 6, that's plus 11t, and then finally plus 30. So that's the answer. We've expanded and simplified. That's the first method. The second method is, if I put a line down here, if I write out the question again, I've got t plus 5 and t plus 6. The reason this is called FOIL is because we're going to write FOIL down the side. It helps us remember what order to multiply things in. First, outer, inner, and last. So, do the first, we're going to start by multiplying the first thing in each bracket. So t times t gives you t squared. And then I'm going to multiply the outer things in each bracket. T times positive 6 gives you plus 6t. And then the inner things in each bracket. So positive 5 times t gives you plus 5t. And then finally, what colour haven't we used? Let's do black. t multiplied by undo that one. So we're doing positive 5 times positive 6, which gives you plus 30. And then I just write them out in one big line like I did here, and then you can simplify it and get the same answer. That's the first question. The second example, you need to watch out for negative numbers. So I'm going to carry on this video using just the grid method. We're going to set this up exactly the same way. So I'm going to say that's my first bracket, and then that's my second bracket. So along the top, I'm going to put 5y, and then this time negative 7, and down the side y and plus 6. And then we just multiply the terms together. 5y times y gives you 5y squared. Y times negative 7, or negative 7 times y, gives you negative 7y. Positive 6 times 5y is going to give you plus 30y. And then positive 6 times negative 7 is going to give you negative 42. Remember, when I multiply a positive and a negative together, that gives me a negative. So once you've done that, it's just the same as before. 5y squared minus 7y plus 30y minus 42. And then we're going to simplify each of these. So I've got 5 lots of y squared. And then include the sign that comes before it. This is where people can potentially go wrong. If I start on negative 7 lots of y and I add 30y, that is the same as positive 30 take away 7y, which still leaves me with a positive 23y. And then finally, I've got this negative 42. So that's my answer to that question there. 5y squared plus 23y minus 42. Okay, next example. Again, I'm going to set out the grid method, and I'm going to write in my first bracket and my second bracket. So along the top, 2r negative 1, and down the side 3r negative 7, and then just multiply these two terms together. When I'm multiplying 2r times 3r, that's going to give me 6r squared. 3r times negative 1 is going to give me negative 3r. Negative 7 times 2r is going to give me negative 14r. And this is where people might go wrong. Negative 7 times negative 1. When I multiply two negative numbers together, that gives me a plus 7. So now I've got 6r squared, take away 3r, take away 14r, and plus 7. We've expanded, now we're going to simplify. So I've just got 6r squared there. I've got negative 3 lots of r, and then I take away another 14r. That's going to give me negative 17r in total. And then just that plus 7 on the end there as well. So we've expanded to get to this point, and then we've simplified to get to this point. Okay, last example. This one is slightly more tricky because inside the brackets we have this plus a, and we're given the expanded version of that bracket, those brackets on the right hand side, and we need to figure out, using that information, what number a represents. Now, even though it says plus a could still be a negative number. It won't always be, but it might be. So the first thing I'm going to do, as before, is I'm going to expand these two brackets here, just as the same as I did before. So down the side, along the top, I'm going to write r plus 3, and down the side, I'm going to write r plus a. I'll worry about what's on the right hand side of the bracket later. So r times r squared. Positive 3 times r gives you plus 3r. Positive a times r is plus ar. That's the same as plus ra, but we tend to write them in alphabetical order. Okay, and now 3 times a gives you plus 3a. So I've expanded, just write the expanded form. Okay, now if I do that, we can't really simplify that at the minute, 3R and AR, because we don't know what A is. So I know that if I expanded these two brackets in terms of algebra, this is what I'm going to get. So over here I'm going to write r squared plus 3r plus AR plus 3A, and now I'm going to use what's on the right hand side of the equation. So we're told that r squared minus 3r minus 18 is what we get when we expand r plus 3, r plus a. What we can do now is we can look through this equation, and we can, anything that's just got an a in it is going to be quite useful. This plus 3a bit represents this minus 18, because every other term on the left hand side has an r or an r squared in it. So I know that 3 plus a has to give me negative 3. I know that this bit here has to equal this bit here, because that plus 3a bit just represents the number at the end. So I know that 3a is equal to negative 18. So if I divide this side of the equation by 3, I'm going to divide this side of the equation by 3, and I end up with 3a divided by 3 gives me one lot of a. Negative 18 divided by 3, well, 18 divided by 3 is 6, and negative divided by a positive gives you negative. That's it, that's the answer. What that means is that this bracket, the first bracket is going to be r plus 3, the second bracket is going to be r plus negative 6. But remember, when I have two signs next to each other, it actually becomes a minus. So my two original brackets were r plus 3 and r minus 6. You could always double check that by expanding it to see if you got r squared minus 3r minus 18. But this is your answer, because the question was only asking us to find the value of a. Okay, so what I've got now is another question generator, which I'll just show you quickly. As always, when you open this file, you will need to click Enable Content, which appears in a yellow ribbon at the top. If you don't do that, the buttons will not work. So you can get, as always, you can select from here which type of question you want to try. If you just want to try one specific type of question, you can do them as increasing difficulty, or you can get a mix of questions, which is where I don't tell you what level of difficulty the question is. So I would only try that once you've got the hang of all four types. This bit here, coefficients, that simply means the number before the, if I change that, that simply means the number before the G or the T or the Q. It's not the ones that, with some of the examples I've done, that's been a 1, but if there's a number before, that kind of adds an extra level of difficulty. So you can try it with coefficients, or you can try it without as well, and generate as many questions as you need. That's it. I'll put a link to that file in the description so you can access it as well. Thanks very much for watching. Bye bye.